Given this graph, we need to find the domain and range of it. The domain is your x values and what they could be. For this parabola, if you notice, it goes on forever from left to right. So that means the domain or the x value can be anything or all real numbers. To write that in interval form, you would put parentheses, negative infinity, which stands for going towards negative forever, comma, positive infinity, parentheses. So that's the domain for this particular graph. To find the range, you're focusing on the y value. If you look at the graph, it comes from negative infinity and it stops at 4. So the range in interval form will be parentheses, negative infinity, comma, 4. And since there's a closed dot at 4, closed circle, we use brackets to include 4. Let's look at another graph. The next graph is going to be a square root. So given this graph, we need to find again the domain and the range. Well, the domain, where does the x, or where does the graph start with the x value? Right, it starts at 0. So the domain would be brackets 0, and the graph goes on to positive infinity. Let's look at the range. The range is where the y value starts and ends. If you notice, the graph does not fall below the x-axis. It again starts at 0 and moves on up. So the range is also from 0 to positive infinity. Another thing you can find using a graph is determining if the function is, or if the graph is a function or not, by using what's called the vertical line test. All you do is just draw a vertical line, and if the line only intersects or touches the graph at one point, then that graph is a function. So the vertical line test confirms that our square root graph is indeed a function. If, for example, and let me draw a graph here just to illustrate. Say we're given a circle, and we need to determine if this graph is a function or not. So one way of determining that is the vertical line test. So draw a vertical line through the graph anywhere. And if you notice, the line touches the graph at 2 points. If it touches at more than 1 point, then the graph is not a function. So therefore, the circle is not a function. To sum up, You can use graphs to reveal many different things, including finding the domain, range, and determining if the graph is a function or not using the vertical line test.